Hey there, Yankel here from ButcherBox, and we are deep into holiday season. To me, that means roast lamb. Lamb is often something reserved for special occasions, but that doesn't mean it has to be complicated. So I'm gonna show you a really easy boneless leg of lamb. Now here's the thing, we're gonna roast it on a bed of vegetables. It's gonna catch all those delicious drippings from the pan, and we're gonna make a gravy out of that. So basically we're doing two things at the same time. Now, when it comes to leg of lamb, they often come in a netting. I prefer to do my own tie-up, so I'm gonna have a little bit of kitchen-safe string, and we're gonna make our own netting. And it's gonna be a lot more delicate so that when we cut the netting off at the end, we don't tear the beautiful crust we built up. So we're gonna go 4 strings around the roast and then 1 long one from end to end. All right, that's my long one. Now, first thing I'm gonna do, just lay my strings out. Nothing complicated about this. Lay it out, just like that. Perfect. And we take our long string right down the middle. Now we take our beautiful leg of lamb, we're gonna put it fat side down, right there on the string. And now, just even them out a bit. Tie them up. Don't need to be too tight. The purpose of tying it is so that it cooks evenly. I don't want to suffocate it, but I just want a nice even shape. Now we take the string from either end, right across the middle. Kind of pulls it all together. Give that a quick tie. All right, and then we just cut off all of our extra string right at the knot. So there we have, nicely tied up, even shape, it'll cook beautifully. Next thing we're gonna do is make our spice rub. For our spice rub, we're doing what is classically known as baharat, which is a Middle Eastern spice blend. Literally translated means spice. Now, a fairly typical blend. The only thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna toast some spices fresh. If you haven't done that before, try it now. The difference is incredible. So we've got some smoked paprika, and then we've got a little bit of cardamom, a little bit of nutmeg, and some cinnamon. Now for the remaining 2 spices, we have dry coriander whole and dry cumin seeds whole. We're gonna put those in the pan. Toast them over medium-high heat, but we're gonna keep an eye on them because once they start to smoke, they're toasting and you wanna keep the pan moving, otherwise they'll burn. Then we're gonna grind them in a coffee grinder, really simple, and like I said, the smell is out of this world. You have to do it. Now, while we wait for these spices to toast, we're gonna add a couple of other ingredients. This is kind of my twist on this. One of them is pomegranate molasses. It's basically got the thick, syrupy sugariness of molasses with a tang of pomegranate. Really, really nice. And we're gonna use that almost as a binder. It's also gonna help that crust build on the lamb. A little bit of olive oil. And of course, healthy doses of salt and fresh cracked black pepper. Got a couple minutes while we wait for the spices to toast. I like to keep it moving. Keep the pan moving, make sure the spices aren't gonna burn no matter how hot it gets, but you're gonna start to see steam rise from the pan. Almost immediately, as soon as the spices start to heat up, they start to release oils and you're gonna smell it, and the smell is intoxicating. This is the incense that was burned in the ancient temples, and you just imagine roasting a lamb over a spit in the mountains, all that wafting spice and herb, gorgeous. If you don't have time to grind your own spices, to toast them first, if you don't have a coffee grinder, that's fine. Use the pre-ground stuff. It's already been toasted nicely. You're gonna get similar flavors. But honestly, one of the benefits of doing it this way is I get to enjoy that incredible aroma. When they start to grind, Now we see some smoke. Now you wanna make sure that the spices continue to move for the last minute or so of toasting. And you can see they're gonna start getting a little bit darker in color, Really, that nuttiness is coming out. It smells delicious, and when you grind them, it's just explosive. At this point, you really want to be careful. You don't want to over toast them. They get really bitter once you over toast them, so we're just looking for that kind of golden brown, a little bit deeper brown than they started originally. Keep it moving. Once you get a good amount of smoke and a nice brown, you're done. So we're gonna pull them off now. So they're nicely toasted. We're gonna put them right into our grinder while they're hot. So I've got right here just your basic coffee grinder, real cheap, like 10 bucks. And once you put spices in them, you're not gonna wanna put coffee in anymore. It really retains that flavor. I use it for ground pepper a lot, and especially once you put pepper in it, it's always gonna have a little bit of pepper remnant, which is fine. That's all I use it for. Now we're gonna give them a quick grind. This is the best part. That's what the holidays are all about. That right there. All right, we're gonna go straight into our spice blend. I leave these a little bit of a coarse grind. I'm not going for just powder. Really adds a little bit of texture to that crust we're building, and it'll still stick to the lamb because of the molasses. Okay, so now we're just gonna give it a stir, bring it all together. Really want this dark, muddy looking paste. That's gonna be beautiful on that lamb. All right, starting right on the top, and I'm actually gonna remove this resting rack. I wanna capture every little bit that falls off. I'm gonna roll it around in it. Really, we're gonna get messy right about now. I don't know why I bother starting with a spoon. I'm gonna get in there with my hands. We both know it, you know it, I know it. Getting in there. All right, let's do it. Sticks to it like glue, absolutely beautiful, super fragrant, just gorgeous. All right, flip it over. We're gonna put the rest of it on there. Get the sides, get the ends, roll it around, get everything. Oh yeah. Wrapping it tightly in plastic overnight is sort of key to the marinade and the rub and all that getting in the meat. Because I added a little bit of salt to it, it's gonna help penetrate. If we didn't wrap it in plastic, all that beautiful moisture that rises to the surface would evaporate, but we want it to sink back into the roast. All right, sit her on there. One layer over the top. Up around the sides. And we'll go one time the other way, just so it doesn't leak in the fridge. Tightly wrapped lamb. I'll see you tomorrow. We're gonna do some really interesting stuff in the meantime. While we let the lamb chill in the fridge overnight, we're gonna set up a bed of vegetables. Now, this bed of vegetables is gonna replace the wire rack. I normally say roast on a wire rack for even airflow. We're gonna get a little bit of airflow here, but what we really are gonna get are these delicious vegetables roasting in the drippings. So, carrots, onions, garlic, and rosemary. Real simple, rough chop. We're gonna puree it at the end with some beef stock. For the garlic, I'm not even gonna chop it up, just give it a smash, open it up a little. Last but not least, we're gonna add a couple sprigs of fresh rosemary. And I like to whack the rosemary a couple times on my cutting board, like so. Really starts to open up that aromatic element of it. A little bit of beating the leaves. Delicious. We're gonna get our lamb out of the fridge. It's been there overnight, just like I promised, and we're gonna pop it right on there and throw it in the oven. All right, lamb had a chance to chill overnight. Let that marinade rub really sink in. Now we're gonna put it on our bed of veggies, and we're gonna put it in the oven. No messing around, one temperature, throw it in there. This lamb is hearty. We want it fairly pink in the middle, that's where it's most tender, but we want a nice roast on the outside. So we're gonna do 375 the whole time. And it'll be about an hour, maybe a little bit more. Time to go into the oven. $375 for about an hour and 20 minutes. Make sure you take the temperature of the roast about halfway through so you know where you're at, and then you want to pull it out at 125 degrees internal temperature. It's gonna be perfect. Hour and 20 minutes have passed. Ready to pull it out. Here we go. Looks beautiful, smells incredible. You can see in the pan we have all these beautiful drippings. The vegetables are roasted. Really, really good gravy coming up. So we're gonna let the lamb rest while we make our gravy. Got a nice resting rack right here. Make sure we reserve all those beautiful vegetables. Pull out the whole herbs. Now we're gonna go everything right into a pot. Now the key to making a good gravy that you're using roasted vegetables for is making sure everything's the same temperature. So we have hot vegetables just came out of the oven, and I've got some hot beef stock that I've warmed up so that it meets the same temperature. Otherwise we won't get that beautiful silken consistency that we want. Going into our pan. We're gonna get a little heat going under here, just so it stays hot. Now I'm just gonna add a splash of my beef stock, and then I'm gonna let it simmer for a minute just to come together. We're gonna pull it off the heat, and I'm gonna use an immersion blender to blend it. If you don't have an immersion blender, you can use a regular food processor. Just make sure it cools down a little bit. You don't wanna put boiling hot stuff in a food processor, or you'll get it on your ceiling. Learn from my mistakes. All right, got a little bubble going. Just a splash of beef stock. Beautiful. Want it pretty creamy. I want to be able to pour it over my sliced lamb, so a little bit more liquid is good. Pop it in here. Turn it on. And then just make sure that it's immersed. That looks perfect. Give it a little taste. Delicious, needs a pinch of salt. And I prefer to do the seasoning at the very end, so I don't season the vegetables that I use as a bed. One last blend to bring it all together. That is perfect. All right, time to slice. Nothing fancy about slicing a lamb roast. Start at one end, go to the other. Fairly thin slices are better. It's gonna be more tender that way. I'm actually gonna start at the fat end. Right there. Oh, super tender, beautiful, crispy crust. Juicy, absolutely perfect. It rested about 25 minutes, and you can still see plenty of steam rising. It stays hot. One of the great things about doing big roasts for the holidays is you can cook it, set it aside. You don't have to be rushing at the last minute. Resting time is key. Well, that's how we do lamb here at ButcherBox. I'm Yankel. On behalf of all of us here, wishing you and your family a very happy holidays.